Welcome back to the Barbecue Beautiful podcast, where we talk about all things smoked meat and so much more, including hilarious stories about our farm to table lifestyle and our love of the outdoors. I'm your host, Trevor. Be sure to tune in until the end of today's episode for how to qualify for the Barbecue Brag to Win giveaway contest. Episode 15. Let's do this. Okay, everyone. So today we're here with Kyle, and I know you've been hearing that name. So he's on the podcast a couple episodes now, and he's shooting videos with me. If you go to Facebook and subscribe, we're putting full cooks with recipes on there. So just wanted to find out who's Kyle. Where did you grow up? Where did you come from? How did we end up meeting? How did you end up on this crazy adventure?
Yeah. Fortunately, I'm enough to be super lucky to be here and well, geez, I don't know where to start. Lived many provinces in Canada. I've lived in BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and just been kind of all over the place and moved around a lot as a kid.
Right.
My dad built houses, and we would build a house, get to the point where we could move into it, and we'd move into it and finish it as we're kind of living there. And near the end, we'd start a new house. And so we moved around quite a bit. I went to lots of schools, and, I don't regret that in any ways because I made a lot of friends.
Right.
Moving around, I met a lot of people in my life. I've had a lot of good friends. I still have contact with a lot of them today, and it's just, and I guess being a nomad.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of dinners at friends' houses and tried a lot of different food and stuff too, right? So,
well, and you grew up with the outdoor life like I did, and that generation of kids that played till dark and mom was calling you in. And
yeah, that was a lot. Like, I moved to Elkford, BC when I was 4 from Ontario, and just being a kid there, and we lived, when we first moved there till we settled down, we were in a camper, and we lived not even a kilometer from the garbage dump.
Okay.
So we had bears roaming through, and you'd wake up in the middle of the night and the trailer's rocking because there's a bear. They would come up and scratch on the trailer, shake the trailer, and we'd wake up. And I remember seeing my mom sitting there holding the shotgun and just terrified. We were all terrified, thinking this bear is going to come in, which it probably could have easily came in, but it was just roaming through, and that was kind of its thing. And I'd run across them out playing with my sister, right? I had close bear encounters back then all the time. I don't know how I survived. I should have been dead a long time ago. And it was just, like you said, gone every day.
Yeah.
And I was just in the mountains, had my pellet gun. I'd be fishing. I remember we'd ride our bikes. Instead of taking the roads, we would just cut down the mountain through the bush.
Right.
Go across the highway over to the Elk River, and we'd find a log jam, walk out on the log jam, and I remember looking back underneath the flow of water because it's flowing underneath the log jam, and like leaning out, you'd see the trout down there just swimming, sitting underneath the logs. And I think back now, like, if we would have slipped or anything, we would have got pulled underneath that log jam. You couldn't get out of there.
No.
But we'd catch a trout or a few of them, and we'd be walking through the bush, with it on a stick, hung over your shoulder. And I'm thinking, man, like, how did I not get eaten by a cougar or a bear or something should have ate me? Because we were like ways out in the middle of nowhere, right? And we'd be, ride our bike half a day back into the mountains. The Grizzly Basin's right there. And like, how did I not get eaten by something is beyond me. But I survived somehow, and here I am. And did a lot of moving around, and Saskatchewan was unique. My wife got into med school there, so put us out there for 4 years.
Did you work at the potash mines?
I did not. No, I was running an excavator digging basements.
Okay.
So I was equipment operator. Absolutely loved what I did. I worked I got trained in Calgary from a great company, and the operators that they had were just phenomenal operators. And so I had, the best people to learn from, and I was like a sponge. I've always been like that my whole life. Is just
Yeah.
you can learn something from every single person on this planet,
Right.
And I was just like a sponge and watching, and I became what I thought pretty good operator myself, and I got to the point where I was training people how to operate and stuff, and within 2 minutes I would know if they're going to make it or break it, right? Because
Yeah.
you get to know after a while, right? And yeah, and
So what brought you guys to Alberta? Your wife's job, basically, then?
well, from BC at the time, I worked in the bush. I was logging and brushing and stuff like that, other jobs, and then you're getting up super early in the morning, driving up into the bush, and it was long hours, hard work, and then I got a job in town working at the sawmill in Creston out at Window Box, and yeah, I loved it, absolutely loved it. You start working on the green chain, you're piling boards all day, and man, that's like if you weren't sweating, you were in trouble. You were working hard, and then I'd end up just staying after work and learning the next job ahead of me. The guy's trimming, and then I'd learn how to trim, and next thing you know, they need somebody, they'd throw you in, and next thing you know, now you're trimming, and then I'd stay after work and I'd learn how to tail the head saw, and then I wanted to be in the debarker. I found that interesting. So I would stay after work and I would go up there for an hour or 2 hours, sit with the operator there and chat and learn how to run it. And next, I'm running that. And then I'm in the log yard in the loader, because at night, like graveyards, you're kind of doing both running, you're loading your deck up and stuff. So,
Yeah.
get to run the loader and all that kind of stuff. And, I had a 980 loader. So it was a nice big loader. And, yeah, it was just staying and learning the next job. And then I ended up in the loader and I'm like, it's kind of the end of the line. I've worked my way all the way through the sawmill and I'm like, I think it was 8 years I worked there. And I was kind of at the end of the rope and I was like, do I want to stare at a log yard the rest of my life? Not really.
Right.
Right. So then my girlfriend at the time, she moved to Calgary and I was like, oh, I'll go with you. Growing up in small towns and then moving to a big city was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Lucky for us, we moved to a neighborhood, and Calgary has a lot of neighborhoods with lakes, like a lake community.
Mm-hmm.
It was Minapore, and they had a lake, and you could go there as you're part of the community, and you could just grab a rowboat, and they stocked it with trout, and I could fish.
Yeah.
So it made things not as bad in the beginning, right? It wasn't just stuck in a city, and so I did a lot of fishing and stuff when I moved here at the lakes, and you get used to it. And then, yeah, eventually I met my wife now, and yeah, she was a nurse, and we met and applied for med school, got in, and that was an adventure moving to
Off to
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan.
Man, I love the people. The people in Saskatchewan are great, but the weather is a big nope for me. Yeah, I was just so cold the winter time, and I was running an excavator, so I get out and I'm shooting grade, digging basements and stuff, and you get back in and you'd have to sit there for like 30 seconds clenched fully and just it hurt. It was so painful to live there in the wintertime, and
Yeah.
just walking from your house to your vehicle that you had to have command start for because you wouldn't go jump in your cold car when it's minus 40 in the wind, and
The tires are square from sitting.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's brutal.
I grew up in the Yukon, I remember.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I did do a stint shortly after I moved to Calgary. When I moved to Calgary, because of my loader experience and stuff at the mill, and I ran equipment back when my dad, he had a construction company too. So I learned how to run equipment with him, but I got a job doing water and sewer running loader. And then I ended up going up north in northern Saskatchewan and up at Key Lake.
Oh, yeah.
And the uranium mine. And that was that was during the winter too, and that was a whole other experience.
That's there must have been some good fishing on that lake.
Well, unfortunately, I was there in the winter, so
Ice
there was
fishing.
well, dude, we were the coldest place on the planet one day. We were colder than, I think Siberia was second. We were minus 52.3 that day. And
And
I
that's
think,
without wind.
yeah. Oh, yeah, it wasn't windy at all.
Okay.
Even the wind was too scared of a blowing. It was Siberia, I think, was second at minus 48 that day. We were the coldest place on the planet. And I was the only guy outside working that day where I was cutting rebar. And yeah, it was, I ended up I just stayed outside all day because at first I would go in and warm up and then you go back out and then it's painful
Yeah.
till you get used to it, right? So I would just like, no, I'm staying out here. I'm not coming in and warming up because it hurts too much, right? It's too painful.
I'll do that once at the end of shift.
Yeah. And like you're saying with the square tires, we got in the truck in the morning, we're driving out to site, and our heads would literally hit the roof of the truck for about 5 kilometers until the flat spots wore out on the tire. It was comical. I remember bouncing and, we're jam packed in the cab of this truck and just like looking at each other and we're laughing our heads off because it was just, it was crazy how your head's literally hitting the roof of the truck. And it makes you think like, how can animals survive that cold, right? It was just crazy, but you get used to it. And I remember it warmed up to minus 20 and we were outside in t-shirts because it felt warm.
Well,
right?
that was like when we were in the Yukon for the ski hill. When it went from a stretch of minus 50 and it warmed up to 25, it was like summertime.
Yeah.
You're out there.
You're out there in t-shirts and everything. It's crazy how you get climatized to that stuff. But yeah, so that was, to me, it was super interesting because like the Northern Lights and stuff,
Yeah.
especially in like Saskatchewan, their theme on their license plates and stuff is Land of Living Skies, and it is truly amazing, those Northern Lights that you get to see up there and stuff. But people were great, but they can keep that weather. And yeah, so I was pretty happy to move back to Calgary where, we get plus temperatures and
the Chinooks.
And the Chinooks come rolling in, which were super unique. Most people don't know what a Chinook is, but it's...
And today the weather's god awful. I mean, it sounds like the wall's going to blow in here.
Yeah, and that's the Chinooks will bring that too, right? You get the Chinook winds and it can get windy, but it also, our 2 feet of snow we get will melt in a week because it, gets plus 10, plus 15 in January. So yeah.
And we've been lucky this year. There hasn't been a whole lot of snow.
No, it's been a pretty good year for sure. But yeah, and that kind of is what put me in Calgary. When I was in Saskatchewan, we're in Saskatoon, and then we had to move to Regina for my wife. A third of their class transfers because there's not enough doctors to shadow.
Oh yeah.
So they transfer a third of the class. She's from Regina. Her family's all there. So it put us in Regina for a year and a half. And with me moving in, I think it was December when we moved, trying to get a job running an excavator in December is pretty hard.
Yeah.
And everything's frozen. Work slows down. So I was the only guy that had any safety certifications. So coming from a company in Calgary that had a great safety program, and going to Saskatchewan where they had nothing, I remember showing up my first day of work with my hard hat, vest, boots, and I was probably the only guy wearing it in
What the
Saskatchewan
hell is that?
day. There was like, everybody's in shorts and flip-flops, and I was like, what the hell's going on here? And so anyways, the company, as the boom shifted from in '08, from Alberta to Saskatchewan, kind of things slowed down here and they picked up there. So a lot of people were moving back to Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
So things got really busy there at the time, which worked well for me. And but our company had to get core certified in order to bid on any city projects and stuff. So they all turned to me because I was the only guy with any safety experience to go get my tickets and start getting, the company getting a safety program going and stuff. So I did that, and I got my CSO, construction safety officer certification, And then when we moved to Regina, um, I ended up getting a job with PCL Construction as a safety officer at the refinery,
Yeah. Okay.
co-op refinery there, which was eye-opening and super cool job. Great company, great people, and I absolutely loved it. Every day was different, it seemed like, and it was an old refinery, so there was a lot going on and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And things that they didn't know where pipes were underground, because back then when they built the place they didn't
Mark
write all
them.
that stuff down. So it was like it was an interesting place. They were doing foundation revamps. They used my experience as a excavator operator and stuff. I thought it'd be a good fit for safety, which it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, oh, we had the best. Like, my site super was just incredible. My workmates were. It was a really good job. I enjoyed it. And then when my wife finished med school, she got a residency in Calgary.
Okay.
So that put us here. PCL didn't have enough work at the time. I think Graham had all the work in Calgary at the time, so I couldn't transfer within the company. So I actually ended up going back to my excavating company that I worked for.
All right.
And I became safety at that excavating company, which was pretty cool. And then things slowed down there. I ended up going to oil and gas, working at a Crossfield at a mod yard, and awesome experience. And the people there, like, it was all welders and pipe fitters and
salt of the earth.
Man, great people, awesome job, great workmates. Another safety guy that I work close with, Brian, he was a super good dude. And yeah, and then the boom ended here. And it was like every week you'd see HR from downtown Calgary would pull in and everybody'd scramble like rats, and he was getting axed today, right?
Whose day is it today?
And for some reason it was my job. I don't know if it's because I'm a big guy or what, but they had
to take people to the gate.
Yeah, I usually had to watch them pack up all their shit and walk them to the door, sort of thing. And yeah, it was sad, right? People were pretty upset, and there's some people I gave hugs to, right? And it was talking to them, and your day's coming, and they pull in one day, and I'm like, oh shit, they're here. So I jumped in my truck and I just got pulled out onto the road because I was going to go over to the other site.
Honk, honk.
My phone starts ringing. I'm like, hey, we need you at the office. I was like, damn it, today's the day. So that kind of sucks, right? So yeah, I ended up, one of the welders there, when I had spare time, I would just go hang out with him. He'd always play good music, blaring and welding away, and I was always interested in that kind of stuff anyway. So I would throw on a welding visor and I'd watch him weld. I almost like a welder's helper. I'd be handing him his grinder, and he'd be explaining stuff to me. I'd really good guys there, and we became pretty good friends. And then he bought a snowmobile. Or no, he borrowed your snowmobile.
He did, yeah.
Because I was into snowmobiling pretty hard at the time, as I'd always been for years. And you ended up taking him snowmobiling, so he, called me, and we ended up going, and that's how we met, was through snowmobiling.
Out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And
back in the days when we were younger and a little more foolish.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you had a turbo Polaris, didn't you, at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's kind of how we met, was through snowmobiling, and then I got laid off from that company, and you were looking for somebody at the time.
Right.
So I ended up giving you a call. I think I talked to Daryl about it, and then he's like, yeah, call Trevor. And I got your number from him, I think, and reached out to you, and ended up with one of the best jobs I've ever had, too. So we're both very similar. So that was just like,
it was a good fit.
Man, you couldn't have planned a better job. Like, we had so much fun. And we did a lot of golfing and hunting, and I know I spent more money than I ever made with you working for you, because I ended up buying a side-by-side, and we're at Cabela's every day buying stuff. And I wasn't a huge hunter growing up, at all, really. And you obviously grew up doing all that. And
Yeah.
so, like I said, I'm a sponge around people, and took the opportunity to take your knowledge from all
I
that, right?
apologize for that because that's not a cheap hobby.
No, but how much fun did we have, right?
Oh,
We were out, setting up tents in the bush and camping and driving around in the Razor
yeah.
and hiking all over. And
We did the ice vision. We did, oh God, that one summer we must have been close to 100 rounds of golf.
oh, geez, yeah, yeah, like at least a couple times a week, and booking tee times and going golfing, and if we weren't golfing, we were driving around the bush hunting.
Yeah. And then at
So,
work, we were bringing in just smoked meat and barbecue and stinking out that office by
yeah.
reheating it. And
Yeah. Yeah. So that was probably one of the best jobs I had, although I didn't make any money. And then I ended up my contract through you, well, the company you were contracted through had ended, and at the time my wife was on mat leave. Our youngest was 5.5 months old. And she was like, why don't you try staying at home with the kids? She's like, I need to go back to work. I need to use my brain. I can't do this. I need to use my brain. She's like, either that or we're going to get a nanny. So I was like, you know what? I'll try it.
Give it a shot.
I'll give it a shot. I can do any job on this planet. I put my mind to it. I can do this too. And so, yeah, it probably took a good 6 months to get into a groove, right? She's freezing breast milk and I'm thawing it and feeding it to the kid. And Kenzie was 3 at the time, I think. So,
Jeez, that's been quite a while.
Going from working construction and being out with the boys all day and to being at home with 2 little girls was quite the change in pace, right?
I'd say.
But I was fortunate enough to have, a good wife, good support, and just, the grit to do all that kind of stuff too, right? And it just kept getting better and better, right? Ellie was pretty portable at the time. She was 5 months, 6 months old, right? So I could pack her around and, go to Cabela's and stuff still and do stuff like that. And then you kind of hit that terrible 2 stage where you're only out as long as she can tolerate, right? Once she explodes, you're away, you're going home, right? And then once we got through that, things just became incredible. Like it was just so much fun, right? I would take them out hunting and stuff like that, or even scouting, right? So I'd jump in the truck, let's go drive around the mountains for a few, right? And we would just go out, cruise around, and I'd be like, hey, first person to see a deer gets a quarter, right? So they're glued to the windows in the back seat.
Doing the scouting for you.
Looking for game. I'm just driving around. We'd stop at creeks and, play in the creeks and teach them how to light a fire and do all that kind of stuff, right? We would just hang out in the mountains a lot of days or I'd take the Razor out and we'd just jump in the side by side and we'd go tour around. I made sure I had one of those in-reach beacons, the satellite beacons, in case something ever happened, and I taught Kenzie how to use it. If something happens and I end up, with a stick through my chest or something.
Incapacitated on the ground.
Yeah. Stroke out on the trail. I don't know, whatever. Here's what you do. You grab this, you push this button, and somebody will come. Right? So
they wouldn't have liked it that one day me and you went out in the Razor. Remember that bloody... when the snow was melting in the mud?
Yeah.
You didn't have a windshield on at the time?
Oh, I had the half windshield. That sucked. Yeah. No, it was... Yeah. And then we had to cover everything in the back, like all our guns and hunting
just
gear.
Filthy.
That thing it was the high lifter version, right? So I had the big tires on it with the big paddles and that thing, and they sit out quite a bit out. There's no fenders covering them, right? So they're just mud. They're like rototillers. And so I ended up building a set of flares for it just to try and knock that mud down. So, it's great when you're summertime and you're out, want to play in the mud and mud's flying all over you. But when you're out hunting, you don't want to be eating mud the whole trip, right?
And we ate a lot that day.
I remember we pulled over on the top of that mountain and we were covered. I remember I had about 4 inches of mud on my arm for holding the steering wheel. And we stopped just to shake the mud off of ourselves. And we got out and there's all those small trees and we were walking through the trees that were really close together just to sweep all the mud off of ourselves. But yeah, but I would take the kids out and we would do stuff like that. I would take them ice fishing. I bought that Otter Monster Lodge. I got an insulated floor. I built a diesel heater for it. I bought them bunk cots. I had underwater camera. Had the flasher and brought the barbecue generator, charge up their iPads when they wanted downtime. And
we were doing that quite a bit there before I left town.
Yeah. But just having that experience with your kids was just, I fished maybe 5 minutes of the weekend. It was all about them, right?
Yeah.
And just to see them, having that underwater camera was key because you'd watch them, a pike would swim up and you could see their lure. I had the auto jiggers going, right? So the pike would just swim up and just stare at it for like 5-10 minutes and just not move and just stare right at the lure. And to watch your kids freaking out, like buck fever, shaking, selling their soul to get this fish to hit their lure, right? And they're just like big eyes and they're just shaking and so excited. And then when that fish decides to hit and the like tent explodes and they're it was a super cool experience. And I'm extremely fortunate to be able to have had those experiences with my kids growing up, right?
Yeah.
I've been with them since they're at home with them since, they're pretty small. So
yeah,
it was super cool thing to do. And then, it kind of brought me to, a couple of years ago, kids are in school. I'm at home. I'm like, I got to do something.
Fucking
right? Got to do something. So I started doing junk removal. I saw there was a demand for that. So I was like, there was the local company that everybody used, and he was, instead of advertising, he was like, if you have a truck and a trailer, I'll hire you. And so I was like, well, I got a trailer for my side-by-side. I'll throw some plywood on the wall, make some walls for it, and just post on my community Facebook pages, and it's been great. I get out, I get to help people, I get to meet people.
Yeah.
People who don't have a truck or, no ways to move this. And you call some of these big companies and it's super expensive to do it. So I do it for bare minimum. I don't really make a lot of money at all doing that. I do it more just to get out of the house. It's more of a hobby than anything. I get out, get exercise, and get to meet people.
Yeah.
So
perfect.
And it's good for me, good for them. They get a great deal on getting their stuff hauled away too. So that's been incredible, and I'm fortunate enough to live in a really good community and surrounding communities, like really good area. I have yet to have a bad experience with doing it. Like the people that I meet are just fantastic.
You're so damn positive though. It would take a lot to make for you to think that it was a negative experience. I can't even imagine what it would take. You're like the
I don't know either.
Most positive, happy person I know on the planet.
I'm pretty easygoing. Like nothing really shakes me, and I can shake anything off. But yeah, extremely fortunate to be in the position that I'm in, and I know it. And to be able to spend a lot of time with my kid, I get to drive them to school every day. I get to pick them up, which is the most important. Is picking them up at the end of the day and hearing their stories about, how was your day? We do that. We communicate so much with our kids, and every night at dinner, it's okay. What's the best part of your day is what we do every night at dinner. So everybody says their best part of the day. And then the kids are like, hey, what's your worst part of the day? Because we want to hear that too, right? Because that spurs a lot of conversation too, right? So we do our best and worst parts of our day.
So with you being so positive, what's the worst part of your day?
Today?
Of a typical day, what's something that's going to get under Kyle's skin?
Not a whole lot. Really? I don't know. I don't know. Like even while I think about today, what was the worst part of my day? Well, I was racing up here trying to
that drive,
once I got off the main highway and hitting the shitty roads and wind and all that kind of stuff. But it was fun too because I got to play with the car. put it in
Paddle
dynamic
shifters.
mode and paddle shift it, because when you put it in dynamic, it all revs up and gets all steering tightens up. But it was so windy, it was pulling me around on the road. So when I put it in dynamic, the car lowers right to the ground, your steering stiffens up,
Yeah.
and it made driving in the wind a lot more pleasurable too. And then, but because it revs higher, you're gonna burn more fuel and stuff too. So I just using the paddle shifts to keep my RPMs down
Yeah.
and have fun. So I don't know if that's not really a negative, but it's about as negative as I get. I don't know. It's and you encounter people that are having shitty days and they try to turn it into your shitty day, but I just don't let that bother me. It is what it is, and
pretty even keel.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah.
And then now you're caught up in this hoopla.
Now I'm caught up in this. Trevor, he's been doing this for a couple of years now and grinding away at it, and reached out to me one day and he's like, "Hey, I want to do a podcast and I want to do it with you." And I was like, "That sounds like something I would be interested in." Not even really thinking at the time that we'd be eating all this delicious food and stuff, but I was totally in, because I know anything that you do, you focus so much on what you're doing. Like, you research the crap out of everything, and you're 100% all in. So anything you did, I would in a heartbeat be a part of, just because I know how hard you work and how focused you are on what you do, right? So
probably a flaw.
You think a barbecue page, you've got over 100,000, 120 some thousand people following you now. Like, that's a big deal, man. Like, good for you. Like, you've worked hard to do that, and you've put a lot of, you guys don't see this, but I see how hard he works and what he has to do to make all this come to fruition, right? And it's quite the grind. And now that I'm part of it, I'm really opening my eyes to, like, every time I come here, he tells me, we're talking about stuff, and I'm like, what? No way. Like, algorithms and engagement and all that kind of stuff. And you always watch the videos, like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff, and I never really thought of it until now that I'm in it. I'm like, how important that is, that people like your content and comment and get engagement and stuff, because once you hit even a certain amount of followers, it doesn't even matter about your views anymore. It's all about engagement. And it's interesting to see this. And did I ever think I would be here, or Trevor, in a million years? Like, he's more of a manly man sort of thing than I ever am. And to see him go into this role is, back when I met him, if we would have told me, I would have laughed. I would have been on the ground laughing. Like, there's no way. Like, he didn't even use social media at the time. So, I've always been on social media, and but yeah, so it kind of
the thing is we were like, ever since we first talked about this, the whole goal is to create a community, right?
Yes.
And try to be a little bit different and show some wild game meat and different things.
Yeah.
And the engagement piece is, just because we post something doesn't mean you have to follow step 1, step 2, step 3. We've always pushed, use it as a base and experiment.
Yeah.
And we really want that engagement, and share your stuff.
Yeah. And that's what I liked about it, is that we didn't just, here's our blueprint of what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to do. I like that we want to create a community. We want to learn. We want to tweak. We want to change. We want to learn from other people. And we want to, engage and talk to people and try to make some kind of cool little community here that we can, feel
you're tossing
free to talk
ideas
about
back
stuff.
And forth. You're telling people what worked for you and what's good. You're sharing recipes. You're posting your videos.
Yeah. And it's not just some company like your Barbecue Beautiful Spices, say, like with some company that just makes spices. They only want to focus on driving that sort of thing, whereas you want to create a whole community of,
the spices are just
use your spices, use my spices, or use whatever. Like, we're here to barbecue, and we want to share ideas, and we want to see different things, and we want to also open it up to you guys and like what would be interesting for you guys to see, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like there's so many ways we can take this, right?
And a
With
lot of
doing
the
different
stuff is
stuff.
focused on competition in barbecue, right? Which is, it's not us. That's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're out here trying to appeal to the 99% of people that are just in their backyard on a cooker,
Yeah.
cooking for their families.
And that's where you hooked me, was when we were talking about that. And it's like, this isn't a competition. And when you do look at a lot of the content out there, most of it is competition stuff, right? And we're
Oh
just,
yeah, I get flack every day for it.
yeah, yeah. So you know the whole routine with that, but so yeah, we're just kind of looking at more of a down to earth engagement and normal backyard barbecuing or oven or whatever.
It's
It
just
doesn't
something
have
that
to be
it's just something
barbecue.
we love, right?
Yeah,
So and I mean, it's like Kyle just said, it's not just going to be about barbecue. I mean, I got a million things. We got a million things to post when we get into the kitchen too. So
Yeah.
we've shot some different episodes with some cool stuff, but we're trying to find a lot of that stuff that doesn't exist. Yeah, we're going to put out the brisket and the butts and the ribs
yeah,
because that's what people know and that's what you think when you think barbecue, but
yeah.
this is so much more.
Yeah, and that's like the barbecue or like the briskets and the butts and stuff like that aren't really what excites me about this, because it's everybody does it. There's a billion brisket and pork butt
Correct.
videos out there, so it's not like we're coming up with something new when it comes to that. So
No.
with our what can you do with it and things like that, now that you've got all this brisket and pork butt, we can make the McRib or a rib sandwich.
Yeah, what are the recipes for the next 4 days?
Yeah, we're looking at real world stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're trying to focusing on, and just creating a safe community where people can, ask dumb questions
Exactly.
and people don't jump down their throat. And there's you all know how social media is nowadays. It's just so
It's
many
something.
people saying whatever, right? So it's, if we can create a place where everybody can just be normal. I don't know if that's possible, but we can try. But yeah,
I don't, and with that said too, me, I don't mind getting into it. It's just have a point.
yeah,
Don't just be on there trying to,
yeah, my brisket's better than yours, sort of thing, and leave
cool,
it
you
at
win.
that. Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah.
not what we're looking for here. It's here's how we do it. And again, I'll say it every single day. If I like it and the people at my table like it, then it's done right.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to post your stuff out there because you think somebody's gonna, cut it down because you're not doing a competition cook. Who cares?
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
you
yeah.
like it and the people at your table like it, then it's done right.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I've always been the person that can take constructive criticism too when it comes to anything, right? It's part of learning, right? And I love to learn about stuff and different things, and so I can take criticism really well. And
Yeah, and that's what we want to do is, if you've been doing it a certain way, you think that it's super good, like tell us. We're more than open to try it, right?
yeah.
Like once the people start engaging and we start having those conversations, we'll cook anything.
Yeah,
Give
for
it a
sure.
shot.
Yeah.
Put it on there. We got some fun episodes coming, like we're gonna do the old 96er
Yeah.
and have some fun with that and do some cool stuff. And next month we're gonna do some ice fishing and cooks out on the ice.
Yeah.
So there's different stuff coming, and it's been a big learning curve trying to get used to some camera gear, audio equipment,
Yeah.
software, editing.
Yeah, and that's all in like Trevor's ballpark. He's, I'm still fairly busy at what I do with like all the junk removal stuff and with the kids, and I'm very hands-on in our household with everything, right? And then plus trying to do my side gig of,
Yeah.
making sure everybody in my neighborhood's happy with me with all that kind of stuff. And so Trevor is taking the wheel with all this editing and learning how to do all this editing and stuff. And like I said, every time I come over here, it's just like, what? You got to do what? And it's like, yeah, it's crazy. So I don't know if anybody has experience with that, they would know, but it's not something you're just going to do overnight or even weeks into it. It's quite involved. So you probably spend 50 hours a week trying to edit the stuff
between all the videos that are going out. It's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of late nights.
Yeah. And we're just starting, right? So it's like, you know.
But you know what? It's funny because it doesn't feel like work because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, you're clocking in, you're doing that 9 to 5. That was, it's different.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
So like today we're sitting there and we're eating 2 different types of smoked chicken and we're having a bacon bomb. Like, how can you be mad about that?
Right. Especially if you're me. Yeah, show up and everything's cooked and ready to go. And we're very fortunate. So,
but I think that's a good place to end this one. And for anyone that was wondering, this is Kyle.
This is me, and
this is his story.
Yeah, looking forward to interacting with you guys through the pages, and I'm part of the podcast page there. So there's Trevor and I looking after that page. So when you subscribe, then I'm part of that page too.
Yeah, make sure you say hi if you click that subscribe button.
But yeah, you'll get to see my ugly face on some videos, and
we're definitely not a couple of beauties on the internet, but that's secondary.
But you know, let us know, criticize us, let us know what we're doing wrong, and you know, if there's something cool you'd like to see us do, then we're down for trying all kinds of things. So. Yeah.
Right on.
Cool, man.
Thanks, Kyle. Right. Okay, it's time for our barbecue giveaway that we're calling Barbecue Brag to Win. One lucky listener will win some amazing barbecue merch that'll take your outdoor cooking to a whole new level. Whether you're a backyard beginner or a seasoned pit master, this giveaway is going to be for you. So what's up for grabs? First, a Barbecue Beautiful bundle. This includes 1 Barbecue Beautiful base layer, honey heat, brisket rub, and a spicy chimney from our lineup of seasonings and rubs. Next, 1 t-shirt and hat of your choice from the Barbecue Beautiful website, www.barbecuebeautiful.ca. And of course, there's going to be free shipping. How to enter? First, make sure you're subscribed to the Barbecue Beautiful podcast on your favorite podcast platform. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode or an announcement. Next, connect with us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok at Barbecue Beautiful. Then share our latest episode on your stories or feed, and don't forget to tag us. Use the hashtag BarbecueBragToWin. BBQ BRAGTOWIN. This way we can easily find your posts. Finally, drop a comment on our giveaway post telling us about your favorite barbecue recipe, or share your best barbecue tip, pictures, or videos. And here's the kicker. For each additional entry you want to earn, simply engage with us. Like and share the posts, comment on our episodes, or even send us a voice message with your barbecue questions or stories. The more you interact, the more chances you have to win. So get creative and show us your barbecue. Let's talk about the timeline. You have until the 25th of each month to enter. You don't want to miss it, and who knows, it could be you. Why are we putting on this giveaway? Well, we want to express our thanks to each and every one of you who tunes in each week. Your support means the world, and this giveaway is our way of giving back to this amazing barbecue community that we're building together. And we really do want to hear from you. So what topics do you want us to cover in future episodes? Are there any barbecue legends or techniques you want us to dive into? Share your thoughts in the comments when you enter the giveaway. This is all about community, and we want to make sure that we're bringing the content you all love. So to recap, subscribe to the podcast, follow us on social, share our latest episode using #BarbecueBrag2Win, and comment on our giveaway post. It's that easy. Get excited because this is your chance to elevate your barbecue game with some awesome gear. Good luck to everyone out there, and may the best griller win.